Hello everyone and welcome to the Deeply Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deeply Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 85. Today is Sunday, April 19th, 2015, and I'm glad you could join me today. It is a beautiful day, and it is much later than usual and much warmer than it has been recently, so I've got my ice water, because I don't want to be up all night. Dinner's cooking, but I have a lot to talk about, so we'll just go with it today. Oh, I just found $20. Silliness. Well, that's about what I can explain about these socks. So these are the Union Jack Argyle socks. I am to the point where I would start with the heel flap, but I had the Deers of the Wool one try it on, and they are too small for his massive heels on his skinny chicken legs. So even though it's really cool looking, I'm probably going to rip back to the cuff and switch to ones, because there really isn't too much I can do about that. And I could also probably check and weigh the balls and make sure I haven't used more than half at this point, since they are socks from scraps. But yeah, so that was sort of sad. That they didn't. I found out, like, before I started to make dinner, so I'm a little bit sad about that. So I'll take a picture for posterity, and then I guess I'm gonna have to put another burn on the color work on these socks. But they did turn out really cool looking. They fit me, but I'm not really sure I feel motivated enough to finish them for me, especially since they're his colors and stuff like that. So that is the story there. So the short answer was, I was knitting them on zeros because I like the way Woolmeister knits up on zeros. However, 66 stitches and zeros was apparently too small, so that was sad. Speaking of too small, I made my sweater sleeves too small. So I was in the process of seaming this guy up. See, I'm still working on it. And I realized when I was trying it on that it was pretty much skin tight on me, and that was the point at which I realized, and this is blocked as well, and that was the point at which I realized that knitting the size small sleeves was actually a mistake. So I MacGyvered a solution. So you see how this guy has two seams? That is because I put in extra 6 stitches, and when I put it on this way, it isn't quite nearly as ridiculous. Trying to figure out where that seam is actually supposed to sit. So it's the case where there's a little bit of added bulk from the extra seam, but it's, I think, going to be the better sleeve overall. So I am working then on knitting the sleeve extension. Oh, I have to very gently lift this out of the bag. Okay, so I'm working on the little sleeve extension for the other sleeve, and then I'm going to undo the seam and then seam up one side and then back down again on the other. It should be fine. It isn't the end of the world. Now, if I arrange this correctly, sort of shake it out a little bit. I did seam the other parts of the sweater together. We'll just flop all around. And I really do like how the rest of the sweater fits. The rest of the sweater is the size medium, which really ended up being somewhere between the medium and small. And my needle, which was holding the stitches, just popped out. It is an easy thing to fix, though. Alright. Needle holding the stitches is not, but it's okay. So, this part looks pretty good, eh? And one day, it'll be a very lovely sweater. You know what I forgot? I did find my buttons. They were sitting next to the ball winder. So I'm glad that that mystery is solved. And I guess I'll show them to you guys when they're on the sweater. Because I'm not going back upstairs again, because I was just up and down, up and down, up and down, getting all this stuff ready for the podcast today. So this is a gray cardigan. The pattern is by Sally Melville. She really does know what she's doing. Trust her instructions. And it'll be really cute when it's done. So after, what is it? So then after I get this whole sleeve thing dealt with and put in and all that other fun stuff, I need to get together my smaller size needle, and then I am doing the neck and the button band. And then it'll be done. But yeah, I'm definitely a lot happier with the fit of the new sleeve. It's actually, like, this one is just pretty much skin tight, so I feel a little bit stupid about that one, but what can one do? And obviously whatever, I have this little bit hanging there right now. So one day I'll have a sweater, but apparently it just wasn't in the cards for me this week. And it's getting pretty close now, so if I wanted a change of pace, I could probably set in this sleeve into the sweater. But whatever, it's not a big deal. I ended up having, it was, you know, one of those days when you just sort of have to lock yourself in a room and just work on something, and that was what I was doing with this sleeve. It was like, okay, I'm stuck doing this, and so I'm going to finish this. And it worked out just fine. So it is coming along slowly but surely. I didn't end up carrying it around with me very much this week, so not a whole lot got done. It seemed to take much longer than anticipated to make these little sleeve extenders, and it did take a decent chunk of time to seam it into the sleeve as well, but that is one of the nice things about a sweater done in pieces, is that if something isn't quite right and you notice it while you're seaming, you can make the sides wider, you can make the arms wider. So if you're making a seam sweater and it turns out too small, it is not too bad to make it wider. It's just the case where you leave a selvage stitch on either side in what you're accounting for, and then you just go to town on it. And the only detriment to doing it that way is that you'll have, the two seams instead of the one seam. So it'll be a lot more seaming, but it'll fit, and you didn't have to reknit an entire sleeve. I think the title for today's episode will be Rising Out of the Ashes. I have not had very much victory this week, have I? Oh well, such is life. Now, I also have a nearly finished object. It is the yoga mat bag, but it needs a little bit of work still, so it's just in a nearly finished state instead of an entirely finished state. So my yoga mat is actually hanging out in there, as you can see, because that tends to show a little bit better the hang of things. So it does actually work as intended. I can just sling it over my shoulder and I don't need to juggle the yoga mat anymore, because I didn't really like juggling the yoga mat. And it was a really good use for this yarn. But now that I have it, I realize, I do not like crochet. But there are times in which crochet is the only solution. So I need to do something to this bag with crochet in order to really give it a lot more structure. So my plan is to, put this here. I need to crochet a line on the inside from one end to the other end of the strap so it doesn't stretch. And then I need to do an identical hoop on either parts where the yoga mat bag is going there. So there'll be a hoop around where this strap is attaching and a hoop where this strap is attaching. And right now what I have is I actually have the strap wrapped around here, which actually was an idea that the Dear Sweet Pool one had. And basically that's just helping hold everything together, and maybe it'll be the case where I just sort of attach that bit of braid to the end of it. I don't think I have enough braid. Yeah, I don't have enough braid to do it for both ends. But then there's going to be, you know, that just little bit of extra structure, because as you can tell right now, it's pulling a lot. It is rather well attached in terms of the strap to the bag, but the width of it isn't what I want in terms of that. So that is a story there. So it still needs a little bit more work, and I definitely have plenty of yarn to make it work. So I'm going to be grabbing the crochet hook of an unusually large size and starting to go to town on it. So basically what I'll do is I'll turn it inside out and do the line down the length of it first. Sorry. Let's see if I can poise it. So I need to do the line down the length of it first, and then I'll do the circumference, and then see how it's holding up, and maybe do some more fierce attaching on the outside with this yarn as well. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much of this I have extra. So this is the third skein. I actually have used all of the what is it? The candy cane skeins, for lack of a better word, and this is 2 plies of red and 1 ply of combo. And I'm probably not going to break into the pure red one, and it probably would be cool to combine whatever's left over with this with the pure red skein. So we'll see how it all comes together. But first I just have to reinforce the living daylights out of this guy. Because it is functional, but it's not structurally sound yet. So, nearly finished object, the yoga mat bag. So the pattern on it is from Barbara Walker's Treasury of Knitting Patterns, and it is the gatepost. So it's just a knit and purl sort of welter thing. You can see here with the yoga mat, you can actually see it opened up a decent amount. It was actually, the bag ended up turning out way longer than I expected. As soon as you stuck something in there, it came together rather quickly. And then it's sort of, the bottom is just a hat style sort of decrease. And so it actually ends up sitting pretty down into the decreases there. So I wonder if I give it a little bit more structure, we'll see what happens there. But I do have plenty of yards to work with here, because it's not going to take a lot of time or effort to crochet in. I just have to crochet. And I can't actually really crochet, so I can do the chain into knitting and that. I've done that before. But I need something that doesn't stretch nearly as much as knitting. Okay. So, I also, I failed to spin this week, but I did do a lot of fiber prep this week. So, I'm going to show spinning, I guess I barely count as spun. I'll show you this first. So this is the camel silk, and I put it on a bobbin. I actually used my spinning wheel and just had the take up so hard that it pretty much just sucked right in, because I didn't really want to add more twist to it, but I did want to get it onto the wheel. And so what this means is that I will be taking my braid of camel silk here of great loveliness, and I'm going to start spinning on the wheel. I haven't been able to find the other part of the spindle, which is unfortunate, but what can you do? And I just figured it'd be easier to fix the spindle if my luxury fiber wasn't on it. So that is what is on the wheel as of, whatever, a short while ago. About the same time I discovered that the sock didn't fit. Now, in terms of fiber prep, I have been going to town on the chocolate Shetland fleece. So I need a total of 5 more bags of fiber before I have my pound. So this is probably from, these roll logs look pretty perfect. So I have this fiber, which may be from the last time. I then graded my fiber last week, and so then this bag of roll logs is actually a good mixture of better than usual fiber. And so it was the case where what I ended up doing was I basically put my fiber into 3 different categories. So I have diffuse stuff that I can't tell where the locks are, and some of it is short, terrible crap, but it's pretty floofed out. Then I have short locks, and whatever, so that sort of describes the short lock bag. So they're not the really, really long locks, but they still have a lock structure to them. I know which way is up and which way is down. And then I have big locks, which this might actually count as a shorter lock, but this ones tend to be whatever, that beautiful fiber that holds everything together. And so I have a nice big bag of good stuff. Isn't that fantastic? So it is the case where, what is it? I have 2 bags done. I need to get 3 more made, and then I'm done. Done. Prepping the fiber for the chocolate Shetland fleece. So I also have, what is it, about 3 to 2.5 ounces of dreadfulness. Like really, really dreadful fiber. And if I need to break into it, I will. I might break into it if I run out of the diffuse crap. So the stuff that's fluffed out, so I have basically a pile of stuff which is compacted and obviously short. And there might be something worth salvaging there, because I have pretty much on the button 6 ounces. So I'm working on the last bag. I'm almost done with that. And then I should have about 4 ounces left. And so it's the case where I'm just taking a big handful of the diffuse stuff, and then I take a couple of the big locks, and I take a couple of the small locks, and I mix it all in together. And so what that is producing is a very uniform roll log. So it has a little bit of everything in it. So it has the soft stuff, it has the long stuff, and hopefully it has very little of the short, disgusting stuff. So I'm hoping that these roll logs will be consistent and good. Because it'd be the case where when I was grabbing locks before, like grabbing stuff before, it'd be in some great big jumble, and then I'd be trying to put in the bad stuff, and it wasn't a good system. I think my new system is better, and it'd probably be the case where I need to separate it into locks before I begin washing. So that will be the next task for whatever, fleece number 2. The fleece you guys have barely seen. And I might need to end up taking out fleece number 2 if it turns out I don't have enough yardage for, what is it, the mulled cider cardigan, the mulled cider jacket, whatever thing that I'm planning on making with this. So, it's come together. I've been watching podcasts while I've been carding away. And I'm not even close to being caught up. Unfortunately, the spot where I'm carding to try to contain the mess into a single room is probably the one spot in the house with the worst internet. But what is it? I have maybe like one more to go, and then I will have 6 ounces, and then I just have to do 2 more bags. And it's pretty reasonable to do like 2 ounces of carding a night. So really, it's almost there. And spinning it is a week job, as you guys have seen. Like, I've gone from whatever last week I spun a skein. So it's like, it's looking incredibly doable for getting that all done. Because what is it? Because I was posting whatever for my totals for, what was it, Spin the Bin and Pound-a-thon and all that other fun stuff. So it is coming along. And then that means I'm going to have one extra, like, I'll have 1 skein of the chocolate Shetland fleece, which doesn't count for the Spin the Bin. Whatever. So that is a story there. I probably, what is it? I'm going to be finishing this guy before I throw on whatever. I'll be finishing the camel silk before I throw on the chocolate Shetland fleece. Because, what is it? I needed to save this project. You know what I mean? It was on the skids, and I needed some way to pull it out of the ashes. You know what I mean? So, hopefully that'll be... My hope is that now, since I understand how to draft the camel silk, it'll be fine doing it on the wheel, and since I've had some practice with the fast flyer, that will also be going better. But we shall see. If it turns out to be full of craziness, then I can always take it off the wheel and put it on, what is it, one of my other spindles. So there are options. What is it? I own 3 spindles, so it shouldn't be too challenging. And then what I ended up running upstairs extra special for was to pull out my death fiber, because I do want to get started on this some point soon. The spin along is going through June, so at some point it does need to get onto my wheel. And there are actually, what is it? There are many opportunities to win prizes, so this might end up becoming knitting fairly soon as well. We shall see. The guess would be that, what is it? This is probably going to become sock yarn, and I'm inclined to make it absolutely crazy pants sock yarn. So maybe I'll do like a, what is it? Like a 3-layer fractal or something like that. Like, I just want barber pulling craziness, because Death is my favorite Discworld character. And I was also very proud because I convinced the Dear Sweet Lovable's friend, whatever, the Dear Sweet Lovable's friend, to actually start reading Discworld. Like, come on. It is satire first, fantasy second, for those of you who do not like the idea of reading about werewolves and vampires and dwarves and human beings and whatever else. It is mostly making fun of the world. But it's just like, this is going to be a lot of fun to spin. It's really my colors. I'm looking forward to it. It will be heading on soon. So that is the story there. Since I just threw the camel silk on the wheel pretty much on a whim, maybe it'll take a little bit longer, but things get done faster when I'm spinning it on the wheel, so we shall see. Is there anything else I wanted to talk to you guys about? It looks like I have talked about all of my successes and failures this week. So it looks like, what is it? So the Colorworks socks, they were for the sock knitters, Scraps Q and Strap, or whatever, Scraps or Q, Cal, and not finishing that by the end of April. The sweater, I thought it was going to be done this week, but there were complications. It's looking better now, but not quite. The yoga mat bag is it's usable. It's almost a finished object. I'll show you guys the modifications that I make probably next week, because I would like to have the functional yoga mat bag. It's so close. And then we'll see how long it takes to get through the camel silk, because once I get through the camel silk, it'll probably be a toss-up whether I throw on the Discworld fiber for the Mega Sal or continue with the Poundathon challenge, but we'll see. As long as I'm making a huge mess in the bedroom, I might as well just finish carding it. Whatever, carding all this fiber. So close. Though, now I'm wondering if I can move the wireless router to a slightly different location such that I can get better. Yeah, the true problem is that, we have the modem hooked up as far as possible from the knitting room. And I guess the smart answer is that what we really need is we need, like, network cables running through the house. That would be the smart answer, and maybe another wireless router. I think that is the solution. I'll have to propose it to the Dear Sweet Loveful one. Because it's a lot easier to route the network through the entire house and then have it come out in the bedroom than it is to get a wireless router that can blast that sort of power through the entire house. So, pretty cool. What else? I think that is everything. We'll see whether or not I record next week. Next week will be the 26th of April. If I have my crap together, then then I will, but I might be going to a party, so it's like, depends on how early and how much time I have, because lately I've been recording pretty late. So hopefully it's not too dark for you guys. I'm definitely in the shadows, though maybe this is a very lovely light to show you my stuff. Who knows? But I do look forward to speaking to you guys next week, and have a very wonderful week. So take care, guys. Bye-bye.